Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer. And a beautiful morning it is. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the hottest spot in town. This is Sunshine's Corner, where we talk about the things that are very much so important to you. And I always invite you to tell somebody else. When it's a conversation that needs to be heard, this is where you need to be. Each and every weekday morning from 9 until 10, there's no other place to be other than Blab TV with Sunshine's Corner. Let me say thank you, first of all, to all of my sponsors who have stepped aboard with me for Black History Month. I just want to say thank you for believing as I do. Let's keep that going live. I'm talking about, we've got Escambia County Democratic Party. Thank you so very much. Mr. Wings Chicken and Waffle. Thank you. Supplemental Support Care. I appreciate you from the heart. AHW Barber Academy. Thank you for all that you do, as well as Joe Morrison's Son Funeral Home and Wildcat Soaps and Candles. Thank you so very much for being a part of making a difference right here in our community in Pensacola. And today I have a guest with me that is known for what he does, not only Inweekly, but in person. He is with us today, a gentleman that I have worked with for quite some time, and he is a very knowledgeable man that talks about things that are so important in our community, and we all know him as the one and only Mr. Rick Oustzen. Hey, Rick.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you know what? Let me say this first of all. Everybody, you know, he is Inweekly. You know, you get that paper, you get all those ads there. And he is the man that's out there now. I see he's got this blog that's going.
Right.
And he's got so many other things that you have incorporated with a podcast.
Right.
And you are really, I see you even now touching even more, Rick. I mean, but that's you.
Well, you've set the model. So I'm just following you. Yeah, I just learned from Sonshine. You know, but yeah, no, it's, yeah, we know, and you've been in media for a long time too, is that to reach people, we have to reach a lot of different ways.
Exactly.
Certain things will do well in a podcast.
That's right.
Television here works. Right. The newspaper, the blog, social media.
Yes.
It's just, we all get our information so many different ways. So we have really focused hard on trying to reach readers where they're at.
Exactly. And you know your name is a staple in the community.
Well, thank you.
Well, it is. You mentioned Rick, everybody knows Rick. And that's
you say the
thing.
blog, they know what they're talking about. Right.
No, but with everything that's happening, and I even look at the fact that you don't just go to the normal little things that we are so used to. You go and take that extra step and get that information that's going to cause us to do one of these. Let me think about this. And I mean, you and Cena have been together for quite some time.
Right.
And I see that team, I believe in that as well. When you got something good, you don't mess it up.
Well,
you
she's
keep
a
it going.
great producer.
Yes,
you know,
she is.
she's produced everything. We're now working on our podcast, which is We Don't Color on the Dog.
I love it.
I can tell you the story behind that.
Please do.
Well, I've got a 2-year-old grandson.
Right.
So he is, we call him the terrorist because he is, every second he's up, he's doing something, running into walls, Cheerios and shoes, everything. One time she sent us a text. I just had to say something I never thought I would have to say. We don't color on the dog. So that's what we said. That's the perfect title for a podcast.
It is.
Because we do color on the dog.
Exactly. How cute. And he's 2, right?
He's 2.
That's them terrible 2s.
Yeah, I know.
I tell you. But Rick, let's talk about some things that are really happening now. Ooh, with the administration that's in office now and how things are changing and how things are being taken away, how things are not being talked about, just doing. What do you feel about the administration and what's going on now?
Well, it has been, you know, it's like, you know, drinking water out of a fire hose. I mean, from the very beginning, we're seeing a lot of executive orders, a huge grab of power that we haven't seen before out of the office. And I think that a lot of it is seeing how it actually gets implemented. And it's getting a little bit frightening when you look at departments that, environmental protection, the people that looked after so many different things to protect the environment, they have been put on leave. The Justice Department, the CIA, it is far-reaching, and we still don't, you know, we're still learning what this means for us. I mean, the biggest scare, and I know you you work with so many nonprofits in the community, but when they had the freeze, temporary freeze on funding, we talked. I spoke with the Council on Aging, and you're talking to them, and they're saying, "Wait, that's Meals on Wheels. That's our foster grandparents." It was impacting a whole lot of people. Fortunately, they've pulled it back, and we've double checked, and the money seems to be happening, but for a lot of people, it was hitting right at where we might not have had those services this month.
Exactly. Do you think if we continue to bring up, and just like with that, some noise had to be made, I think, for them to kind of realize, or maybe we can put, should I say, with let me put it like this, and this bothers me, that you're taking away the Black history,
right.
the Dr. King, President Kennedy, all of this, right? If we just don't sit there and say, okay, let that happen, we get ourselves together and put something together to stop it. Is there a way that you think that the community can do that? Because that's important to the community.
Well, we saw it, on the temporary freeze. The public did speak out. It did change the course of things that are happening. I think, there's still room for protests. There's still room for other voices. I think that you're right. Yeah, you're looking at some of the departments. What was the Defense Department? They're not going to do anything with Black history.
Nothing.
The West Point has said that they're doing away with minority clubs and women clubs on their campus. So it's some of it is taking some of these orders and really running with it. Some of it hopefully can be pulled back.
Absolutely.
Some, but I think there's always a room for protest. And the piece is, trying to. I talked about drinking out of a fire hose. It is a lot at one time, and it's difficult to where do you focus? Yeah, part of what we're seeing at UWF with this new board of trustees, I've been working on that story for about 3 weeks, and we're just now getting some national attention. And I'm talking to people and they say, well, we have to talk about tariffs, or now the Gaza Strip, and now, it's and Elon Musk and what he's doing, so it becomes so many things that I think UWF is a huge story, but it's just difficult, to try to. You only have so many pages in a paper and time on TV or radio to do this. So that's part of their strategy, is hit us from a lot of different directions. And
it's working in so many ways. I do believe that when we say protest, there are many ways to protest other than going out stand up with a flag. There's many ways that we can combat that to make sure that those things are not really just taken away. When you brought up Elon Musk, with him, and now that he is been given the position.
Right.
Okay, but isn't he not from here too?
Right, from South Africa.
Okay, but is he here illegally?
I don't think so. But
but does he have to go back and prove his way too?
Right.
And then, but now he's been appointed this. I think that's wrong. That's just me, personal pronoun. I think that's wrong. Another thing, what I don't like, when it comes around to DEI, do not they realize they're painting the picture that the only person that's affected with DEI is people of color?
Right.
Wrong.
Right.
That's not right. But it's painted there, and I believe the narrative that they're using, Rick, this is just me, from what I see. Words have power. And the longer you plant that seed, you keep planting that seed, talking that talk, it begin to grow. And even though it may not be true, but you have planted that and painted a picture, and that's what we'll tend to think. Do you understand where I'm going?
No, I do.
And I think that's what's happening in a lot of areas there. Even with the fact that I'm hitting spots that I want to go back to and talk to as you were talking, I was thinking, even with the plane crashes, that my heart goes out to those families.
Right.
That all of those people that were lost, the first thing that was said, it was Obama's fault. And DEI. My God, why are we trying to separate when we should be trying to come together? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well,
how do you feel about that?
The strategy
Yes.
is, and this is a strategy that's been used in authoritarian governments around the world.
Right.
Is first you attack the media.
Exactly.
Then you create distinctions.
Exactly.
You separate that we all have to worry about this group or that group, and then you become the savior. You create chaos.
Yes.
You've done away with the news media. You create chaos, and now you're what we call a red Caesar, the one who comes in and is the one who's going to calm everything down.
You're the savior.
And not have to follow the Constitution, not have to follow the rule of law.
Right.
Because it's so bad that we have to do it this way. And that is the game plan, the playbook that we're dealing with.
Exactly. Project 2025. We warned people about that. I talked about that for months. And I see now it's being implemented. They're going at it the way they said they're going to do. So my thing is this: don't be shy. Don't say, "Ooh, I didn't know." When so many people, not only here but around the world, was talking about the fact of what was happening with that. But now that we see, he said it, believe it, and he's doing it.
Right.
So what we got to do now is don't cry wolf, as my mother used to say, now that we already knew that was going to happen. So it's up to us as a nation, our country, our people, to come together, because we got to realize everything. If I'm not a millionaire, it's going to affect me. If you're not that one that's in that category that he reaches out to, it's going to affect us all. So what can we do as a community right here locally that we can do so that we can help those that are really going to hurt, even like we was talking about Council on Aging.
Right.
How would those type things that we got to make sure, even with Medicare, even with the things that they need so much that's trying to be effective, how is it that we as a community can make a difference there? What can we do?
Well, I think you need to let your local officials know. Let our, we don't have a congressman right now, but let our senators know. Let them know how you feel. Let our county commission, city council, mayor, let school board, let our state legislators know how you feel about what's going on.
Absolutely.
And create some noise about it.
There you go.
But and you look at and you're right. DEI covers a lot of things. I know it for. I know of anecdotally a young woman she's in a third year of a fellowship, and she was a beneficiary of DEI, not because she was her skin color, or she was the first in her family to go to college.
Exactly.
So that's what the inclusion meant. The equity that's what it meant. It's not just a race issue. And the other thing is, this is being done, and I've talked to scholars and said, well, maybe it's always valid to look at, has DEI really worked? But there's no analysis that's been done of that. No, they're just blanketly doing this without any examples or any scientific analysis of data saying, okay, this really didn't work the way we thought it worked. We don't know that.
Right.
But like you said, it's a red meat issue. Let's go ahead and throw the red meat out there helps get certain people elected and helps to separate us further.
Exactly.
Right.
Everybody, we're talking with Rick Oustzen, and I tell you, if you would like to be a part of this conversation, I ask you to do so by calling 850-432-7768, or you can text. I believe, and you know this, the only way that we can come to a great conclusion to make things better, we have to talk about it. Stay close. We'll be back with more right here on Sunshine's Corner.
Good day, Pensacola. Welcome to a new segment on health and wellness sponsored by Baptist Healthcare in partnership with Sunshine's Corner. Every first Wednesday of the month during Sunshine's telecast, we're going to be bringing you information about health and wellness and ways to make sure we're improving the quality of your health care here in Pensacola. After all, we want to ensure that you're going to the right place at the right time and for the right reason, and that you don't feel alone. Can't wait to see you.
Do you have a house that you want to turn into cash? I'm Mike with Mullet Man Buys Houses from Pensacola, Florida. Maybe you inherited a house, are facing foreclosure, have tenant issues, or the house is in general disrepair. I buy houses cash, in as-is condition, and close in as little as 3 weeks. I can provide you a competitive offer the same day I walk through your house. With Mullet Man Buys Houses, so you can find the easy solution to put cash in your hand as quickly as possible.
Many who consider facial plastic surgery are concerned their results will look unnatural. But with over 20 years of serving the Pensacola community, his thousands of satisfied patients have made Dr. Derek Jones a trusted reconstructive and facial plastic surgeon known for industry-leading results that look natural. Call 850-484-FACE to schedule a consultation at one of our locations in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze.
I'm Dr. Derek Jones. Trust your face to a facial plastic surgeon.
At Pensacola Habitat for Humanity, we believe every child should have a safe place to grow. That's why we work with you and the community to build not just a house, but a home.
She worked very hard to get this house. I really appreciate that because, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here right now.
When you help build a home, you build a future. Pensacola Habitat for Humanity.
And welcome back to this Thursday edition of Sunshine's Corner, where we are talking about those conversations that need to be had. I have a very good friend of mine, a long-time gentleman that makes such a huge difference in our community, Mr. Rick Oustzen, and he's talking about things that I think that we need to talk about. And the fact of it is, Rick, with what you do, I consider that when a person put all that they have into an entity like you do, that's not a job. That's something that you enjoy. That's something that needs to be done. You know what I mean? Because you can tell when it comes from the heart.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And because, some people can go out there and just talk and you can say this, but if it's something that from the heart, you give it all. I still see the picture in my mind when you were leaning down out of UWF. I can't get that on that podcast. I thought that stuck with me.
Right.
Because that was something I think that needs to be said. And the way you did it, it was the body language. The facial expression that I saw is what made the difference.
Well,
we got people who want to talk to you already. Good morning.
Good morning, Sonshine. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, I'm so happy that you're able to be on the show today and give your perspective on what's happening in the country. And I'm liking the things that you're saying because people of color may have these thoughts and feel a certain kind of way, but to hear it from someone that looks different from us and they have the same perspective is very great. I want to ask you, can you give us a little bit of your perspective, how you feel about what you think about when it's coming to the illegal aliens and they doing the ISIS, taking all these people out of the country, shipping them back. We know one thing is that there are a lot of people that come in from Canada, and we're not hearing anything about those people getting taken back to Canada, but they always focusing on the people that's coming from Mexico and Colombia and stuff like that. So can you speak a little bit on that perspective, about the ICE and all of that is going on with the borders?
Well, I think that what concerns me is the lack of due process. That are we really truly dealing with? Some of these people are coming from countries that are dealing with horrible conditions. It's a matter of life or death. And how do we don't have a process set up, and part of the log jam at the southern border is that we don't have enough personnel to help deal with the asylum requests. Now the other issue is this expansion of ICE now being tied to local law enforcement, that the sheriff's office can get involved and the states can get involved. And I think that creates an opportunity for abuse. I think that we all believe that our borders should be secure, but I do think I agree with you that part of this there is discrimination in that it's a focus on people, brown people, and coming from nations that are really, really struggling. So there needs to be a process. It needs to be followed. The borders need to be secure. But we don't have a whole lot of data on exactly what process we're putting people through.
Yes, I'm a social worker, Rick, and I was just out to one of my foster families' home and just talking and stuff. We have kids that come in from different countries and stuff like that. And then some of them get returned back. They get reunified back with their parents and stuff. but their parents are working with other people that are illegal aliens. And if they get picked up, then these children going to be left at daycares or schools or wherever that's at, and then they're going to be more traumatized. They're going to get back in the system, and once they get in the system, they may never even get returned back to their parents because they're going to be in another country. I just feel like the human decency is like really left to dealing with this administration, and they're just not thinking about all these little small aspects what kind of harm that they are doing to some hardworking people.
Good point. And I think the other thing, we're a country built on immigration.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've had those waves, throughout our history, and a lot of the jobs that those who come to the country for the first time are jobs that other people don't want, and we're going to see an impact in construction, see impact in agriculture, so, and even in the hospitality industry, we're going to see an impact, and we're not thinking about that side of it. And I think that, the other thing, I'm sure as a social worker you see this too, is that some of these people, there are those that the predators that deal with these. Those are here undocumented, that they are subject to physical abuse, sexual abuse. They're trapped in a whole nother way too, and are scared to go to anyone for help.
Right. Well, thank you, caller.
So true.
All right.
You're welcome. Thank y'all, and just keep up the great work. This is very informative, and it's something that we need to be spreading the word on.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you can do the same thing because I want to include you in the conversation. We have another caller. Let's see what we got here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sunshine and Rick.
Good morning.
Does getting rid of DEI really give this administration an excuse to fire very competent, very experienced people of color, women, and replace them with less qualified and less experienced white men? Thank you for your comment.
Oh, I think that's a layer to all this. I mean, when you do wholesale, there's been no analysis. That's
right.
That we're not looking at their merit, what their job performance has been. They're just wholesale, getting rid of people or laying them off or giving them buyouts. So we're not using data, and that's the president, one of his early executive orders
exactly.
was all should be done on merit. Well, then shouldn't we look? Rather than do wholesale, we should be looking at the evaluations. What have they been coming to work? What are their skill sets? What are the job performance?
Absolutely.
But we're doing. The goal is to wipe out DEI with no analysis.
None.
And that people are going to get hurt.
They already beginning to hurt.
Right.
When it comes down to when you were talking about the fact of people, when the first caller asked about the people getting in trouble and all that good stuff. But when it comes down to good trouble, like John Lewis used to talk about, don't be afraid to get in good trouble.
Right.
I think now, and this is me, what I see, there's a lack of people that are willing to get into that good trouble, to go out there and fight, like the second caller said. Why is it that when they're replacing it with unqualified people not of color with that, and nothing is being done? But I think about this also, Rick. With what's happening now, even with the fact with the education, there's so many parts that just cause my liver to shake because I feel like it's such a separation. And this way I want to go with you. With this split that's being done, trying to separate us even more, how is it that it cannot be seen that it truly is a separation with black and white?
Oh, I agree. Well, it's there are, part of it is that it's getting more blurred, and I think the policies definitely have a racial tone to them.
Right.
But in some of the instances, there are people of color in the Republican Party that are pushing for it as hard as their white counterparts. And you're looking at what are they listening to? What's their analysis other than to please those that are in power? And to me, you got to look at the data. What I do so hard, because I know my reputation's on the line every day, everything I write.
I know what you mean.
So I do my homework. And so you have to know you need to have your facts together before you do something. One thing that Mayor D.C. Reeves does a fantastic job of, he finds out best practices, he does his research, he looks at the data, and when he makes a decision, he has a basis to say, this is why I did it. We're not getting that. We're getting just this assumption of power without an explanation or any data. And really, Ron DeSantis has been doing this for 6 years now.
Yes, he has.
He did the exact same thing.
Dictatorship is what I see.
Well, I would agree.
It's dictatorship.
Right.
Somebody else want to talk to you again, Rick. Let's see. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, Sunshine. This is Derek with the Democratic Party. How are you and Mr. Oustzen doing this morning?
We're doing well, Derek. How are you?
I'm quite well, thank you for asking. I was just listening to the commentary, and I wanted to make a comment, but then direct a question to Mr. Oustzen, if you will. Like, I was listening to what you said at the top of the show with your comments regarding drinking from the fire hose, you know, with respect to a lot of the executive orders that have been passed down thus far during the initial part of Mr. Trump's administration, and we're still learning. You know, when I hear those comments, sometimes, and I compare them to what I feel like is the shock and awe from a lot of people in the community who are saying, oh, wow, this is a lot. It feels a little disingenuous at times, because we had a whole playbook to, as what Sonshine referenced. We knew what was coming down the pipe because they put it in print in a 900-plus page document labeled Project 2025. So I don't think that we're learning because we had the blueprint of what was going to come in the beginning. So when we look at this, I guess my struggle is hearing all of these things. And to your point, when we talked about DEI, and it seems to be an attack on people of color, well, we also know that the number one benefactors of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives were white women. So as much as it was targeted to people of color, we see that it's being the people who are going to be affected the most are those benefactors, which are white women. And to see it being replaced with another form of DEI, which in my opinion is taking those people who are qualified of color and replacing them with unqualified white male, that to me, that is the epitome of what they're fighting against. It's just the antithesis of that. So when I look at it, I'm curious to know, from your perspective, what do you feel this administration is doing wrong thus far in the first few weeks of their presidency?
Well, you know, I tell you, one thing I'm trying to do with the blog is I have got a whole page just devoted to executive orders and what they really are. How many things they've done wrong, naming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, gutting our intelligence agencies that are so critical to us, and realizing that, gutting foreign aid, which is our way to win over people around the world. You look at these wholesale firings that are happening in layoffs. I'm really concerned just about the language of so many of these orders, and it's an obsession with Obama, obsession with Biden, and so, gosh, we probably have got almost at least 3 dozen orders out there. Yeah, and I agree. Project 2025 showed us where they were going to go. Now, Trump denied that was going to be his playbook, which gave him a little bit of leeway there. Now we see that all those people that wrote it are in the administration. I think that the challenge that I see is for this community is we need to realize the majority of our community voted for Trump. So we've got to figure out how, and what I try to do is, all right, you need to understand what this really means, and this is like, I'm really focused on UWF, what's happening there, but you look at, when they start freezing funds, that impacts people in our neighborhood. It impacts our families. We've got to show how these policies are not just theoretical, that they're real lives at the end of it. And that is what's scary about some of these ideologues that are involved in the Trump administration and the DeSantis administration, is they don't care about people at the end of the day. And that is so opposite of how so many of us think about people before we think about policy.
Absolutely.
And so the challenge is we got to tell the story, or at least that's my challenge, is to tell the story.
Exactly.
And try to connect it.
And I just want to challenge you just to shift on something you just said.
All right.
Just a bit. I don't agree that the majority of our community voted for Trump. I agree that the majority of Republicans voted for Trump, but we still have a lot of unregistered people in Escambia County when we look at our community in aggregate that just didn't vote. So I think it's a little bit unfair to say that the majority of our community did so as we look at it in a whole. And I just hope that people understand when we look at the things that have gone on thus far, to open up a press conference about the tragedy of the American Airlines plane crash, to say, I don't know how it happened, but then turn around and say, oh, it's DEI, is absolutely ludicrous and it's irresponsible. And then we look at Trump's offer of assistance to California victims to be conditional, to say, okay, well, if you turn on the water, which we know that the water wasn't being suppressed, and you show me a voter registration card.
Right.
These are things that are, to me, that are basic human decency that we're not seeing coming from this administration. So I hope that people understand this is what you voted for. So you can't be surprised when it doesn't, when you realize you're impacted by it. But I thank you for your time.
And thank you so much.
And it's okay to disagree with me. That's how we learn.
That's
how we learn from each other. So that's never a requirement.
You all have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. And everybody, this is what we're talking about. Now, that was the point that was made. It's okay to disagree, but you know what? We're talking about it. That's how we come to a better conclusion. Your thought, my thought, we can come up with something great. Stay close. We've got more for you right here on Sunshine's Corner.
You finally found the perfect car in racing blue. You even got them to throw in the LED fog lights for free. Auto Owners insures your car because some people never learn to parallel park. That's simple human sense.
Ask the Messick Insurance Agency in Pensacola if Auto Owners make sense for you.
Keep going, more. No, stop!
There are many reasons someone may need in-home care, whether it may be respite care, them recovering from surgery, or having a chronic condition. Having someone dedicated and reliable is imperative. Supplemental Support Care Services was created to provide to those who are in need with quality care that they deserve in the home. Taking it a step further, our main goal is to ensure that Supplemental Support Care Services is where the love and care is top priority.
This is Charlie with RWB Spas in Pensacola. This is my #1 seller. It's the Bellagio Boo, which is aluminum frames and aluminum panels. We believe in the Charles Deming philosophy, which is quality, and we have the aluminum frames, aluminum panels, our thick inch base, and the latest, greatest technology on the market. RWB Spas, this is why everybody comes here. It's because they purchased the #1 seller in the country, rwbhottubs.com, and come meet Bambino.
Early in life, Tony found a love for craftsmanship through building furniture. Growing up in cabinet shops, he was drawn towards custom cabinetry, designing, and creating new and functional spaces. And to be able to share that passion with his clients, helping them turn their ideas into something special, making sure you get more for your investment.
Every kitchen and bath starts with your unique vision. I just bring it to life.
Master-built cabinets, beautifully handcrafted and customer designed.
This Black History Note is being brought to you by Wildcat Soaps and Candles.
Kamala Harris was the first black woman elected Attorney General of California. This she was the first black woman elected to be a senator for the Golden State and only the second black woman in history of the Senate. Now she is the first black and Asian American woman to be elected Vice President of the United States.
This Black History Note has been brought to you by Wildcat Soaps and Candles. I couldn't understand that either. And welcome back to this edition of Sunshine's Corner. It's Thursday, and we're talking about the things that we're talking about in the community. But here's the part where you can be a part of the conversation. I truly appreciate those callers who are calling in with their questions. And you know what? That's what I believe in. That's how you come to a better conclusion. You talk to the person. Rick says something that I love to hear. I say this: you don't have to agree with me.
That's right.
It's okay to disagree because we all have a different thought process. But that's okay. We're talking about the administration and how it's affecting us locally, where I want to go. Here on the Gulf Coast, right here on the Panhandle, doing my research and the things that I've been doing after this administration took over, which I talked about it quite often, Rick, to try to get people prepared because of the fact, if it was a chance that Kamala wouldn't win. I want to say this too. I hate the fact, because he insinuated something to me when he said that when he was talking about Elon Musk and when he was talking about how he has this key to the computers, he can get into computers and change this, he can get it. Did he change his votes? That's the thought. Okay, that's the illusion that you took us to. That's the illusion that you took everybody to when you said that. If he can go in and fix that, did he go in and do that? That's just a conversation. Somebody that's just buzzed in, look, they really want to talk to you. Let's see. I love it. Good morning.
Good morning, Sunshine.
Good morning.
Mr. Rick Oustzen.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank you for your service, for your years of service for the city of Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
And for 11 years, it was called La Bona International Boutique. My wife and I were blessed to be the owners of the first business on Main Street, located in the historical village in downtown Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed in your latest edition of the Inweekly, matter of fact, if I may, anybody that can hear me, if you can get your hands on the Inweekly magazine, you'll know so much about Pensacola and its growth right now.
Mm-hmm.
In your latest edition, sir, you honored Mr. Bob Snow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And you talked about his saloon. Well, when I was down in the village, the Lord again blessed me because the old Christ Church, as you know, was built by slaves. And then the Pensacola Bay Brewery came in, and it came to be, and even now, at the PBB, if you go in with me, your first beer is free, and that's a guarantee.
I love it.
In the village, you know, you can drown yourself with sorrows and then go across the street and pray for your forgiveness of your sins. So that's just a little lively part. But being an unrecognized ambassador for the city for those 11 years down there, your magazine, I would always tell people, and I would make sure that they would get one, because I would get them from Joe Patty Seafood and take them down and have them in our shop, because it was so informative. And you've done such a wonderful job presenting both sides of how Pensacola has grown over the years.
Well,
thank you again, and God bless you. Thank you, Sunshine.
All right, have a great day. Great. You see, when I tell you what, Inweekly is a very informative magazine, a paper, and it's getting thicker. But the fact of it is, Rick, do you see the community, how they're behind you? It's like I said before.
Well, thank you.
They are there. They know about what you do and the information that's being put out through your magazine.
Well, thank you. It is the part is to tell the story of Pensacola, and in the early days it was difficult. People didn't understand that we're going to point out the good and the bad,
exactly,
and where we think improvement needs to be, and we're gonna we're gonna pick a winner and loser. We're gonna do that. We're going to ruffle feathers from time to time, because that is how you discard a discussion. Someone's got to do it. It's thank you, and we've invested heavily. Of course, we are a downtown business. We've invested heavily in the black community.
Mm-hmm.
We make sure that our papers are a lot of the churches in town, because when we lost the Pensacola Voice, we realized that that part of our community was left out.
That's
was
right.
left out. And,
that's right.
And that's the importance of this show. And we saw what Robert Hill does.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is to help augment what y'all are doing.
Exactly.
And because you're not going to know what Lumen May is doing. You're not going to understand what he's doing at the county commission or what the mayor's doing or the challenges with housing or law enforcement. You're not going to get that anywhere else.
Exactly.
So we try to tell those stories.
Most certainly. And I have to give Lumen his props. He came on. I said, okay, Lumen, you can stop right now. We're running out of time. We're running out of time. We're running out of time.
Yeah. You have to catch your breath.
Yeah, with Lumen, because he does not breathe.
Yeah, catch your breath. Well, he's the son of a preacher. So,
Exactly.
That's it.
And when we talk about these things like this, Rick, if I ask you one sentence, okay, I want you to finish this sentence I'm going to ask you. I want to see where you're going. Okay. The world needs more of what right now?
Golly, there's so many different. I think the world needs more compassion. I think we need. It's difficult to listen to different opinions, but we need to. But at the end of the day, we need to realize we all got to get. It's about the community, and we can see things differently. But at the end, what bothers me so much is so many policies have zero compassion.
Right.
It's about to prove. It's to prove some political point or to assume power, and the more compassion that we have, I think that used to be coming out of the civil rights era and going into the 80s and the early 90s. It was. We defined ourselves about how we cared for people in our community.
Exactly.
And this is still a loving community. And I think, and that shows up all the time, but we need to be compassionate.
Okay. Even with that compassion, and I want to word this correctly, with the compassion that we say that we need in this community, with the things that are happening that are affecting us right now, and I will be totally transparent with you, it's affecting the Black community in a different way.
100%.
100% in a different way. And how is it that with the Black community, you're saying that you're inviting me to the table, but once I get to the table,
you're sitting in my chair. Right. Yeah.
That is a difficult pill. You say you want to include me, but yet and still, once I get there, it's like, are you really there?
Right.
Is it just being said? How can we get across that, even with now? And I'll be as transparent as I know how. It is so difficult for we, as a people of color, we've got the education, we've got the experience, we've got the know-how. We know how it is that we live in this Black history every day, whereas even now they're saying they want to take away our Black history. And I say this every day, and I'll say this to people of color, people of non-color, for the entire community. We don't need permission to do Black history, because we are Black history.
Right.
Every single day.
Right.
So my thing is, what bothers me the most, and then what we see, and it's something that Derek said earlier, when we get to this point that we know here, let's say if there's a position, I've got what it takes to do that position, but here's a person that's not of color is going to get that position, but don't have what I have. You can't imagine if I were a weak woman, what that would do. Can you not imagine now when we say that we're fighting this, you want to invite us to the table, but now when it's coming from the top, that we can see where we're being separated and doing it out loud. We think that sometimes when I say we do the conversations that I have with my colleagues that are in the community, that it's okay because I'm getting it from the top. So now I don't have to pretend anymore. I can let it out.
That's a lot to unpack. but so a couple thoughts. One is that the whole phrase of being colorblind is
that's not true.
It's not true. In fact, I appreciate your experiences were different than my experiences.
Exactly.
And I work hard to try to understand your experiences as well as different people that are different from me, whether they're transgender or
Absolutely.
or different religion, different
Absolutely.
different And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That is what, you know, I learned from that. And one reason I think we're effective as a media source is because we haven't assumed that I know you.
Exactly.
I don't assume.
Right.
You know, I'm listening to what you're telling me.
Right.
You're what you hear in the community has a big impact on what I write.
Right.
What my friendships with the different pastors in town, and because I'm listening and saying, okay, maybe I didn't have this one right. And there's something I didn't understand.
Exactly.
You know, what does this really mean? And there's a step this community skipped over in race relations. I don't know exactly what that step is, because we've seen in the white community rushing to create their black friend,
oh God, yeah,
their black board member, without really weighing into understanding. You know, rather than just don't check the box.
Exactly, I hear you.
I want to know what you have to say.
I hear you.
And there are those in the black community that have allowed that to happen because they got the one who got the check.
Exactly.
You know, so it's that process that we're still working through as a community to understand each other. I think what's happening with Hollis T. Williams Park, where the mayor's really focused on how can we reconnect this community that was destroyed when they built I-110. I mean, I went back and looked at the stories, and you know, that's how we end up with the housing projects that we got, because we took all the people that were in that alleyway, that path, and moved them.
That's right.
And you know, and that was a thriving community, a thriving schools and businesses.
But of course.
So.
It was a lot. I know.
You know,
it's a lot.
But it's we're having the conversations more than we've had before.
Absolutely.
And I think we're seeing that, and that's why this show is important, and it's why what
you do is so important.
Well, you know, it's I'm learning.
You know, we're learning every day.
Right, exactly.
Every day.
I want to know the story.
Exactly. I tell people that every day, that listen, I learn something new every day. I don't just sit here and when I come up here and I go home and I do that. No, I'm out there because I want to learn more. Stay close, and I want to hear from you as well right here at 850-432-7768. You can call or text and be a part of this conversation. Sunshine's Corner. We'll be back with more.
Welcome to Little John's Big and Tall, where tall men and big men go for style, fit, and comfort. We offer a wide variety of styles and unique brands that service all sizes from large to 14X, as well as tall sizes from large tall to 6X tall. Our knowledgeable staff are here to make sure you have a stress-free experience and answer any of your questions. Little John's has been named Best of Pensacola and Best of the Bay for 4 years in a row. Visit Little John's at 5700 North Davis or visit us online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com.
It's time to find a health plan that can keep up with your life. A plan that makes getting care convenient, with doctors around the corner.
I can get used to that.
Plus, 24/7 access to care. Plans that keep more money in your pocket, with plan payments as low as $0.
$0. Looks good to me.
Let's find your health solution. Speak to a dedicated Florida Blue agent today. Call 1-850-393-7036 to learn more.
From wanting the perfect dress for the most important day of your life to simply wanting to look your best, let 2 Times a Lady be your saving grace. Whether you're looking for an elegant A-line gown or a trendy cocktail dress, our expert staff will help you find the perfect fit. 2 Times a Lady has been dressing ladies in Pensacola since 1983. Call us at 850-474-3778 or stop by the store at 2755 East Olive Road. We can help you find the ideal dress for your event.
Well, I think it's all about local, and I'm a big believer in local. So I think anytime you can carry a message out locally, it's important. And I think it's anytime the person that delivers the service can also deliver the message, which is unusual. You have the people that actually deliver the project doing the talking, and I think that's a huge difference, and really makes a huge value difference for the consumer. So I'm really just so grateful that we have this local opportunity with Blab TV. My name is Quint Studer, and I am Blab TV.
And welcome back to this Thursday edition of Sunshine's Corner. I am having such a fantastic time. I don't want the clock to stop. Hey, look, Zach, freeze the clock, okay? We got a call. Let's go back to the phone line. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Sunshine and Mr. Rick. How are you guys today?
Good.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Rick for all his years of service and helping with the community.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just wanted to, I don't have a question for you, but I do have a comment. The question you asked earlier about what the world needs.
Right.
I feel like we need respect. I feel like throughout the years, God gives us provisions, He provides, and then He also gives us warning. And different things happen throughout time, even with COVID. We tend to come together for like a moment, and then we go back to doing the things that we did before. Like we have no respect for life, for ourselves, for anything. But I feel like we need to come together as a nation, many different people, not just black, but we all need to come together. And then we need to start speaking up. It's like we need more, we need a spine, we need a backbone.
Right.
And we can't just allow things to happen just because someone is in authority. And to me, this administration reminds me so much of Lucifer in heaven when he thought he was so much. He was the most beautiful angel. He had so much power.
Right.
And then he got to boasting and thinking he was more than God.
Yes, he did.
And he created so much chaos. And even with this, it's going to come to an end. But we as people need to come together, start speaking up, letting this administration know that we're not okay with what is going on. So we just need to stand together. We need to start speaking out more. So I appreciate what you guys are doing and just kind of putting it out there for the community. But the black community, we've got to start coming together too.
Right.
Because knowledge is power. And you got to get out there. You got to get an understanding. You got to know what you're talking about in order to know what you're hearing.
Amen.
So that you'll be able to do something about it.
Yes.
So I thank you guys so much, but continue to do what you're doing. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, you see, that's to go back to cover what we just said. We're talking about it, so therefore, we've got to be able to talk about it more. And when she brought up the fact about respect, good point. What do you think the world needs now? What do you think we're lacking? Is it respect? Is it equality? Which is it? Just something to think about.
Right.
Because of the fact that there's so many aspects, because of the fact when we said that in this world today, and she made a good point that we as a black community, there's a person named that I accidentally, he's so embedded in my thought process that I say it often here in the studio when I'm in, I've even talked this to Derek before, and I said, oh God, it was this guy I used to work with in Montgomery. He was such a voice. His name was Alvin Holmes, and he died. But he was one little man that had this huge voice that always spoke up. And it's like, Lumen does all he can. He works hard. But I think that the community together needs to come even more knitted, to stand more firm. And I want the community to hear this from me. Take the I out of the equation. It is us. Once we get across that again, but Dr. King always, it was such togetherness that he talked about. It was all love what he talked about. And if we are going to be worried about, and I'm telling you what I see and what I experience, who got the ball across the goal line, we're never going to get there. Right. Because as long as we get the ball across the goal, if we win, it doesn't matter that if I take it across the line, if you take it across, we won.
Right.
We won. So therefore, don't lose respect, gain respect. Allow us. Don't try to stop me. Help me.
Right.
Don't try to knock me down. Bend over and help pick me up. Because I will be as honest and as real as I know how. It is affecting the black community and much more, I'll say, the community of color, and so many other ways because of the fact of this beautiful tan. I'm just saying. And I mean, this has been such a great conversation. We need to come. We got to do this again.
All right, we'll do it.
We're going to have to set us up a time so we can continue to talk because he's keep telling me, oh, you only got 4 minutes. But we have touched a lot today in this, Zach, 3 minutes. We have talked about a lot today.
We have.
And a lot of things that have been touched on that I want you as a community to think about as well, about us coming together to do that. And I don't care if you're red, yellow, black, white, or brown. I believe that if we come together, there's nothing we can't do. I believe that from my heart.
Right.
I believe that, Rick, from the bottom of my heart. If you set that aside, let's put this thing together right, we can do and overcome anything. I want to thank you for all that you do. You've gotten so many accolades today. They love what you're doing with the magazine.
Now I'll come back. It's great to be a part of this.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you're doing. This is so needed in the community.
Yes.
And to have the phone calls is great.
Yes, and I think that allows the community to know that it is for them.
Right.
To allow them to be a part, to share their thoughts. And every single day that I'm out, there are people of all colors that are stopping to tell me, thank you.
Right.
That we need this.
Right.
We need the voice. Continue to do what you do. I'm following you every day.
Yes, ma'am.
I follow you every day. No, he would always say, I walk in the studio, well, what you got going? Well, the talent just walked in the building. I mean,
well, here's an ego.
No, but Rick, I love you with a perfect kind of love. You have always been there in support, even way back when.
Yeah.
And you have always been there. And I love what you do. I love what you do.
Mutual
I love
feelings.
It.
Thank
and
you.
We will have you back. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget about Inweekly. Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
All right, Rick at Inweekly.net. It's you can pick up the blog. It's ricksblog.biz.
Yes.
The paper is Inweekly.net. The podcast is We Don't Color on the Dog. And you can probably find me in just about any bar at 5 o'clock. So I'll be one of those.
Wings.
And I love chicken wings. Used to love King's Barbecue, but I miss Mr.
Yeah,
Rivers.
not there anymore.
I know.
Exactly.
Gosh, he and his wife. But
no doubt. But thank you, Rick. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And community, I thank you as well for tuning in, always being a part, because without you, there will be no me. I want to leave you with a thought, as I do every single day, because I believe this from my heart. Never, ever lose your focus. Always remember, if you keep God first in whatever you do, I guarantee you're going to be a total success. So until tomorrow, 9 o'clock, for another day of nothing but sunshine, keep it here and tell somebody. Reach out and help somebody. If you see a person down, don't talk about them. Bend over to help pick them up. That's the only way you should bend down, to look down on them. So until tomorrow, know that I love you, my friends, with a perfect kind of love. Keep shining while I'm gone. Sunshine's Corner, being brought to you by Quint and Richie Studer.